Yeah.
So quiet.
And
Nice.
we are live.
Oh, we're live?
We are live.
Better question is, do we have working audio?
Do we have problems?
Do we have problems? Well, I mean, I think
we're good.
I think we know the answer to that question.
We all
Yay!
have problems, but
Yeah, we should be.
6 episodes in.
I mean, I'll let you know in like 2 seconds because the stream's delayed. But
We're good.
let's see.
I think we're good. So I mean, we most of us have wired on the microphone side.
All right, yeah, we're good.
Yay.
That was worth like triple checking though.
Triple, yeah,
because
right.
last time
you
we
can
really,
never go wrong with
Last
double
time.
checking
Yeah.
all your equipment.
Well,
Are we ready?
Let's see
Yes.
where. Nice. Okay, yeah, cameras are rolling, and we are here.
Yay!
wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of Guydeas.
Yes.
We're here. We've survived thus far. All right, so introductions. To my left, if you know where South Park, Colorado is, you're doing it wrong, but if Cartman had a spirit animal, it'd be this guy, Mr. Ryan Smith.
Yes.
Hey!
All right, so up next, the Lord and Savior, the Holy Bishop himself, Mr. Andrew Atkinson.
Yes.
Land sharks.
That's because he's the ordained one, right? Okay.
All right, up next, we got the man, the myth, the legend, the reason why we have fact check, Mr. Stephen Coker.
I say a lot of stuff.
He's also
I'm
our
pretty
fact
sure
checker
last
tonight.
episode you were like, I'm a doctor. And then, of course, we have the brains of the operation, the very reason why we're here, Mr. Drew Lowblow Lowland.
Hey.
Yeah. All right, so.
Low blow.
All right, so real quick, Ryan, you look white and you look pretty Russian.
Oh my God.
What are we drinking?
Well, it's kind of funny you say that. I don't have an ounce of Russian in me. But we are
But he
drinking...
wants some.
Oh God. Already off on the.
All right. We are drinking White Russians as a tribute to the dude. No, and a White Russian, for those of you plebeians who do not know, is coffee liqueur, vodka, and a little bit of heavy cream.
Ooh,
So,
very nice.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Well, we're cheersing. Oh, jeez.
Over the
Episode 6, yeah, over all the...
all over the electronics.
All right.
Smart idea.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right,
Good
Drew. Hey, dude, what are we talking about today? Nice.
Well.
Probably need to angle these cameras a
Yeah.
little different.
Oh, I know. It's because it's even when you lean back and I'm operating, it's really hard to see you.
Yeah, what should I do? Should I go this like this or that?
Just.
Lean back.
Well, you're gonna have to lean into your mic to talk.
Yeah, bro.
anyway, So.
It's so...
You can move the stand closer.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, it's funny.
Okay.
Just being
Anyways,
an ass.
anyways, tonight we are talking about online dating, and that's a broad topic on purpose. We're gonna be talking about, our experiences online dating for those of us who have. We're gonna be talking about whether we think it's a good thing or a bad thing. We're gonna talk about it generally as a social phenomena, and that's about it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, just one topic tonight.
Just
So,
one topic.
Just one
keep,
topic.
keep it sweet. Keep,
Keep
it
it-
simple.
keep it simple.
We kind of went over a little heavy last like, couple weeks ago about China.
Right.
2 hours was a little much.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Just a little.
There will be nothing sweet about this conversation.
Oof.
You're still bitter about the fact that the 1 week we talk about sports, it's esports.
That's true.
I'm still bitter about that.
He's bitter.
That's funny.
And he's also bitter about the fact that my Arizona Diamondbacks smashed those Rockies.
Yes, they have the Rockies number right now for some
Those
reason.
abs, man.
The Avalanche, though, they're beating
Yeah.
another Arizona team, so...
But like, what do you say? The last 5 minutes of the third period?
Yeah, it was a
Bad
close
idea,
game
bad idea,
until...
bad idea, bad idea, bad idea.
3-0.
Put that on there like
The
that.
Avs scored their first 2 goals 10 seconds apart, and then they scored another one like in 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
If I had like cable or, I'm pretty sure I can do like Hulu Sports and get like all the games.
Wow, we're talking about sports and
I'm
our views have gone up.
Hey,
We should do this more
glad
often.
that,
Can we fact check that?
Well, no, I was gonna say
Wait.
it went up, but that's not what they're hearing right now. So,
Yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah,
better than
Steven.
playoff hockey.
all right. So I think that we should probably
We'll get back on track.
start this conversation with
Most likely.
perhaps who has actually online dated.
I
have. I'm now married, so I'm not doing it
3 of
anymore.
us, huh?
Obviously.
I think we're the
We
only-
have not, yeah.
You guys are
All right,
wise.
so in this corner we have the people who are online dating and the people who at one point tried it with no success.
Steven
And
and,
then-
And then over here we have the two people.
Well,
that have
so when
never
you
done
say,
We're
so
purists.
if we haven't had success at it, have we technically done it?
I did not have success.
Well, I'm just saying if we have not had success.
Pursued
What do you
the
mean
avenue
success?
of
Yeah, what is
online
success? Can we define success?
do you mean like as
Set the
in
bar low.
Success?
you
Oh my
dating.
God.
Sex.
you found you married somebody that you met online? That would be, I guess, pretty successful. But
Yeah.
I've
Or
definitely
bait them?
Even a
I've
relationship.
out
With
a
somebody.
few different times with people I met online. Does that
Really?
count as successful?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I don't know. Like, I mean, you can
Nice.
you can define it as like you've carried on a long-lasting relationship, or
Right.
you can define it as getting.
They haven't
married.
been long lasting.
I kind of that's the thing. I kind of define if it was me, like online dating, I would define it as like you found your partner, you got married, the whole gambit.
That's fair.
Which is
That
very
seems
interesting
right.
because I actually pulled up the statistics on that.
Oh, what are they?
Oh, you want guys?
I
Oh,
wasn't
we're
here.
going straight into that?
You want to go? You want to go into the math?
Statistics.
Yeah, let's go to the math.
Why not?
Statistics of what?
Okay, online dating.
He's gonna
No,
tell,
of
he's gonna
is
tell
this
us.
I can't say statistics. Statistics of hookups or actual dates or marriages.
I think
from.
it's more focused on marriage.
Okay.
So
And is that broken down by site or?
there's quite a few it's all, like where I got it, it's all in one, but then they kind of cite everything. So I didn't study statistics extensively in college, so I'm just spitting out sources. If you want to refute them, you got a comment section to go after me for. Okay, so we'll start with the first one.
Do you have a comment section?
According to the
It's
Washington,
usually very empty in there.
what?
Just like my
The comment
DMs.
Oh, God.
Where's the chirp with the crickets?
Right.
Okay, so just a couple numbers for you guys. So number one, according to the Washington Post, people who meet online get married quicker, which was very interesting. According to
I believe that.
What's that?
Oh, I believe that one.
Right. According to the Statistic Brain Research Institute, over 17% of marriages start through online dating. 1 in 5 relationships and 1 in 6 marriages begin online. It's kind of interesting.
Pretty solid.
Yeah. And then
Half of them end in divorce.
so save the meaty for later. We'll get to that. Okay, so 2 different studies from 2 different universities, the University of Vienna and I think the other one is from Sussex. Let's see, online marriages are less likely to end within the first year. Pretty interesting. So, and I think I think they define online marriages like you met your partner online and then you dated and then you got married, not like you bought your wife from Russia. Or
Well, I was
something
gonna say,
like
does that include
I think
Russian brides?
I think that's the general consensus.
Oh,
right
that's
there.
why we're
online, too.
drinking White Russians.
Oh,
I get
Because
it
you have to
now.
put in the type you want.
Natalia, come on down. Oh, wait.
All right, so number 4, couples who meet online report higher marriage satisfaction. This is done by a research paper from the University of Chicago. And then this is where we get into the meatier stuff, mostly focused on eHarmony. Over 2 million couples met on eHarmony. More than 600,000 have walked down the aisle. I think that's like all like as far as like the number of
So what is that?
Doesn't mean they got married.
No, because
details. Okay. All right, I got one more for
Sorry,
you guys.
Steven.
Now this one, I think this one would be a really good conversation starter. So it says that according to eHarmony, eHarmony's divorce rate is 3.86% versus the 50% national average. Now,
Whoa, that's actually pretty good.
now here's the thing though. The 50% national average, has anyone ever looked into that? Because I've heard arguments that it's more like 20 or 30% or something like that.
Oh,
I've
no,
not.
I've always heard 50.
Yeah, I mean, 50 is commonly what's talked about. There was this group of like Christians who were pissed about that number and who were frustrated about like divorce being attacked, and they're like, it's a lie. So they did all this research disputing and found that it was more like 7%, which is like, I don't know about that.
That seems like a pretty wide gap.
Yeah,
I thought it
7
was
to
more
50.
than 50%.
it's
When,
I'm under the assumption that it's at least 50%. Like, I don't believe in choosing the reality that we would rather have be. So I'm going to go with the more bleak outlook. Call me a pessimist in this moment, but I guess it's kind of true. 3%.
3.86%, which I'm just sitting here thinking.
I don't believe that.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking. It's like, okay, like, can you quantify the human relationship? And like,
Right.
you know, can you quantify?
Well, I think an
accountability?
important distinction with that is that like if you are just like some random person that just gets married in any other category of meeting people, that doesn't filter out your intentions or your commitment levels. Whereas I feel like if you're going on eHarmony to get married, you have an intention of committing to a lifelong relationship at a greater level than the general public might.
That's not a bad point. I mean, it's probably also a group of people who haven't found success in other avenues of dating
Right.
and who appreciate the opportunity of being in a relationship more, so they might cherish that more. I mean, we find similar things actually in the gay community. Like, they have lower divorce rates just because it has, in the last decade, it has been harder for them to actually achieve.
Well, yeah, it's easier to live with a man.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you guys just agree on things.
Yeah.
There's not that butting heads.
exactly. No weird
What do you wanna
nagging
eat tonight?
or little nitpicky.
5 hours later.
Oh man.
Can you go?
And
so on that,
canceled.
On that, on that stat, you said 2 million, and then 600,000. What was it?
It's like
2 million have walked down the
2 million
aisle.
people over 2 million couples have met
Oh,
on eHarmony.
okay.
But more than 600,000 have walked down the aisle.
Okay,
Right.
so
Okay.
less than 0.5% have gotten married, and then only of those 3.8% have gotten a divorce.
Okay.
So what is that? 3,000 people have.
That's
gotten a divorce?
crazy that there's less
Or
than
3,000 divorces.
Wow.
Because you would technically, so you would half it. Because if 6,000 married or 6,000 people have gotten married, that means a total of
600,000.
600. So that means a total of 300,000 weddings and 3,000 divorces.
You know,
That's really good.
my skeptical mind always says like who paid for the study and who's
Well,
That's why.
but what I
that's
was,
why I did the
but what I
CYA
was
over
getting
there.
at is how many marriages are there in general to that, and like only 3,000, but only 300,000 people have been married on eHarmony.
Right.
Like, or not? Yeah, only 300,000 weddings have been.
oh, it was
600,000.
600,000?
No, you said 600,000 people.
Yeah, 600,000.
So that would mean 300,000
Oh,
weddings.
see, they're doctoring it. He's
Yeah.
right. It's 300,000.
So, because if there's
Doesn't
six,
sound better.
that means
600,000 people have walked down the aisle. 2 people have to. Oh, well, wait.
yeah, if
Well,
600,000, that means
Yeah, I
unless
agree
there's
with
like
you.
They're
groups of
probably-
3
yeah,
or
they're-
4, I don't know.
No, wait. If
They're probably saying couples.
Are they-
So,
Yeah, so if they're
300,000.
saying people, 600,000 people,
that's 2 per couple.
that would be 2.
Yeah.
So that would cut it down to 300,000. So only 300,000 have marriages. Only 300,000 marriages and 3,000 divorces
Wait.
from eHarmony.
So
Yeah.
300,000 out of what was it? How many?
2 million.
2 million.
2 million?
So 2 million couples have met on eHarmony.
Oh, 2 million couples.
2 million couples have
Okay,
met on
so that
eHarmony.
changes it. So now it is 600,000.
600,000. Over 600,000 have gotten married.
Okay.
So 600,000 couples and 3,000 divorces?
No, so that would be 6,000.
Oh, 6,000 divorces.
Well, I'm
Okay.
just thinking like, okay, like I kind of get where you're coming from, where you're saying like because there's 2 people
Well,
that are married.
depending on how you say that statistic, it's not as
Well, I-
great as you.
I
Well, no. Depending on how they word
Right.
it, it's not as great as you would
Well,
think.
and if you run the statistics, their success rate, if you want to call getting married the
It's
success
under,
rate,
it's under
it's
half.
it's 10%.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, not to be pessimistic, I guess, but I kind of wonder if they'll start seeing the divorce rate go up for the online weddings, because like if you think about it, at least my opinion, we're still pretty new into like the online dating world.
That's a
And
good point.
at the very beginning, probably up until at least the last 8 years or so, the people in the online dating world were people who were seriously looking for marriage.
Right.
And so you would think that people who were seriously seeking out marriage, you would think that their divorce rates would be lower. And so as online dating gets more and more mainstream, as you start seeing more and more people do online dating and then potentially getting married, I would kind of unfortunately would would kind of assume that divorce rate would go up.
Well, and
that's
that
quite
and
possible.
well,
Yeah,
and
that's
how
a good
long's
point.
eHarmony been? Like, so if
It
we're
ca-
if
it
you're
came out in
thinking,
2000.
okay, so we're at
2000,
20.
that's it?
20 years.
So
we're 20 years of eHarmony.
We're just gonna hit they had a kid and when they got married, and a lot of people won't get a divorce. Like, I don't know if this is a true statistic, but a lot of people wait to get a divorce till after their kids have left the house.
That could be.
That's true.
And so now we're hitting this time where
So
you might start seeing more divorces from these online couples because they stuck around for their kids.
I think that's a good point.
And
That is-
we're gonna hit that peak here where it starts
Interesting.
happening more, but it's so new, it's hard to even kind of take it in because it's just we're getting to that peak.
So it's almost like, and this will kind of shifts the conversation a little bit. It's almost like online dating was for a while this niche thing that was an alternative option for people who wanted to seriously find a partner, and it worked. But now that it's becoming more normalized, it sounds like what you guys are saying, and I think we would all maybe agree. It's going to become normalized, and then it's going to be more reflective of the culture at large.
Yeah, I think you're already.
Well,
seeing
and I
it.
think it's already doing that.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think like
Well, especially with something like Tinder.
Tinder.
Just something about last week.
He's still on.
Yeah,
He's
Dang it.
still pissed.
Tinder
Instagram
has.
came out with their version. Of
I
TikTok
have.
by
That's
their
where my
reel.
stats
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah, I mean Tinder has that reputation for being the hookup match.
Right.
place, right. Matchmaking.
And then
site.
Bumble
Why get
is like,
married?
Bumble is like that, but less sexist
So I asked someone today.
because the girl has.
I wouldn't
to
think so.
initiate.
I
Yeah,
feel
the girl has to initiate, so
Yeah.
less dates for me. So actually, I did some research. I was listening to. I asked
You
a
did
friend.
research?
I did research. That's weird. It was very last minute.
This is
It
really
was
good.
today.
Thank you.
So I was listening to a lady who
good,
explained.
I
So
might have to make another one.
I had a friend. So I'll start with my friend. I asked, "What dating sites do you use, or have you used, and what's your favorite?" And she went Bumble as her first. Hinged was second, and then Tinder was third. But she hated Tinder. She hated.
Why was it third? She's
Because
only ever
the
used
other
those
ones
three?
suck. So yeah, so she pretty much said those are the three that you use. The other ones really kind of suck. But
What's
but
Bumble?
Bumble. So Bumble's where the girl picks.
Yeah.
The girl gets to initiate the conversation. Hinged, I would say, is more for like people actually looking for a relationship, and then Tinder's more of hookups.
I was on
so
Hinge for a little while.
so I was too. Actually,
pretty
I
solid.
still am on Hinge. It sucks. I think they all suck.
I got ghosted on Hinge.
I did too.
Dude, I got ghosted on every
I
single
got
one
ghosted
that I
on
used.
every single one.
So wait, that's what I want to talk about. Let's
Yes,
talk
me
about our
too.
experiences online dating.
so
you guys
he-
are currently in it.
let me
He
finish
is
my.
building a thought.
Okay,
So let me
yeah,
finish.
okay,
so
finish
she
the thought.
was explaining that, and so she said,
a terrible place
I
for
want to
that.
know. I want to go to that too. But she said it was kind of funny. So it was Bumble is where good people are, and for ladies, and then Hinge was the maybe, and then Tinder kind of turned more into the I just want to get laid, and so and it's like that progression, actually digression, of I started here and I ended here,
Sure.
kind of thing, and
Sure.
so-
Based on desperation. like,
yeah,
this is where-
and she kept saying like, and actually she said on Bumble it was easier to find for her. It was easier to find more good guys than not, and then Hinge was a little in between, and then Tinder was very bottom of the barrel, maybe one or two good guys.
That makes sense.
And that's the digression though. Like this, it's like why pay for prostitution when you can just hop on Tinder?
It's not that far off.
It isn't. And
man.
but so this other lady I was listening to, and she had a great explanation of this, and she hates dating sites, but she was explaining Tinder and why it sucks for men and women.
Cool.
So for men, well, sorry, it actually was perfect for men, but because it sucked for women, it's actually harder for men. So usually it's about
That's an
they
interesting
put 3 pictures on. For guys, it takes 3 pictures to say yes or no. There has to be no explanation, no nothing. It's, oh, she's cute, yes. And for girls, well, it's harder because girls want social status.
What do you mean by that?
So they want, is he a good guy? Does he have a good job? Is he rich? You know, like, and Tinder, dating sites don't give you that.
There's one.
So, huh?
There's at least one of them that does.
Well, they do, but
Farmers
you can
only.
fake it. And so,
What?
Farmers only.
Farmers only.
That's another thing I was going to point out. Like, one thing I've noticed is that there's such a niche for these dating sites, like farmers only. I was like kind of blown away by that. See,
Okay, finish your
yeah,
thought. Finish your
No,
thought.
you're
We have
fine.
so many good.
We have so many good
traits
things,
to go
but it
on.
was just so interesting. For girls, they want the social status.
Yeah.
Huh.
They want to be able to see if you're a good guy or you have a good job, you're not lazy, you're motivated. But there's no way to actually portray that. You can fake it, but there's no way to actually portray that. So women, when they look at you, they are more likely to say no to you based off your pictures alone
That's interesting.
than to actually get to know you. And that's where, for guys, it's the perfect scenario, but it's the worst scenario. Because for us, it's just, are we attracted to you? And then we'll figure out if we like you. For women, they want to know if they're going to like you before they're attracted to you.
So your friend, where is she from?
Here.
Here in Montrose.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's interesting because I've got a buddy
Oh, that was another
in
problem.
Denver. No, I've got a buddy in Denver who, actually, I think he's dating somebody who he met on Hinge, but it took a long time. And the last time I talked to him, before he was actually dating, I forget her name. He was saying kind of the same exact thing. Like he was picking up on that the women over in Denver and like the Denver metro area were basically like, it was all about money. Like they wanted, you could be like the nicest dude, treat women exactly the way you should treat them. But if you didn't have a decent paying job, you had no prayer. Which really sucks.
Yeah. Well, and we live in a small town, and that's where my friend was actually like, I would rather not meet people online, but we live in a small town,
live
and
in
it's
a-
harder to meet
Yeah.
people.
I've
You
got
would
a
think
theory
in a
about
small
that.
town it would be easier to meet
No,
people,
I don't
but
think
it
so.
is. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think online dating does not work unless you're in a town of like. I don't think it works unless you
It worked for
live
you.
somewhere about like 200,000 population. Because I was in Junction for a long time trying online dating. It didn't even work in Junction. So you gotta be in a big. I think you have to be. In a
I don't
big
even
city for
look.
it to work.
I don't even. So on mine, I don't even look here.
Are we talking online dating or in person?
Online dating, it's really hard in small towns
The effectiveness of online dating in smaller
because
towns versus big
you.
cities.
Okay, I
Like-
agree with that. I was hearing
there's
the
like-
opposite from over there.
I'm currently on one. There's like 15 people from like within a radius of like Montrose to like Delta County. And so you
Right.
keep having
Yeah.
to like expand, and eventually I'm like, well, I'm looking in Denver. And
That's
there's,
why
like,
I
a
just go
gazillion
straight to
people.
Denver because there's
Yeah.
no one on. There's
like
no one here.
Billions of, well, that's quite not.
So
true.
I think
There's
that's the
literally
thought I
thousands
have.
of people in Denver. That are
I
like
think
that.
online dating works better in cities where it's less normal to just meet people out and about. Like in a big city where there's a million people, you can't just like walk up and be like, "Oh, hi," to somebody like, "Oh, hey, we both live here," and they'll be like, "Yeah." Whereas like you're in a small town like this, you can be like people are friendlier, they're more open, they're more sociable. But like in cities, that's I think why online dating does work because everyone's like, "Oh crap, I can't just go out and meet somebody unless I'm a creep," because that's what the creeps do,
Yes.
So then they go to
creep.
online dating, and that's kind of how they break that barrier to meet
I
people.
disagree.
You disagree?
Oh, why?
I disagree with like the whole like you can't go out and meet people on the like one of the reasons why I met my wife was I basically learned that interesting people do interesting things, and so one night I had nothing to do, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go swing dancing, and that's how I met my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like this bar that did like swing dancing on Tuesday nights, and
Is that Turn of the Century?
no, it was called the Deuce.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, the Deuce.
You know the Deuce.
Yeah, dude,
You
I
remember
know the Deuce.
Yeah, so
is that where you guys met?
That's where we met.
Wow.
It was on Tuesday nights. You do like a free 1 hour lesson. They teach you the basics, some like pretty advanced stuff, and then after that, you pay $7, get you on the floor, and you're just grabbing ladies left and right, and you're just making conversation.
Well, that's dangerous territory right there. Just grabbing ladies.
Yeah. Yeah, some political figures.
That was
have
in
gotten some bad
Phoenix,
press for
probably.
That.
Yeah.
What's that?
That was in Phoenix.
Yeah, so we met in Phoenix, but
Gotcha.
I don't know. Like, I think online. I agree. I think online dating is more effective in a bigger city because there's you're the pond is so big,
Large.
Right.
and there's a lot of fish in the sea. Whereas here in a smaller town, you're kind of limited. So I don't know. Like when I talk to young guys and like give them like dating or marriage advice, I just tell them like going to a bar and finding somebody is one thing, but then like when you find somebody like at the gym, like somebody who goes to the gym generally has like, you know what, I want to put the discipline into being healthy, or, you know, they do yoga, or they're into like kickboxing, just some kind of cool activity. And I feel like that could be an easy way to just, you know, you just meet people and you play, you know, I played the field. Like I just went on dates with a lot of people, and then came around to it. I was like, you know what? I think, you know, Jamie's great. So then I, you know, just kind of went down that road, and that's how we met and got married. And
Nice.
all that.
See, I think that was a good strategy though, because you met her in a place where you were naturally interacting with people you didn't know in a mutual interest, right? That's like kind of like your point of like not meeting someone in a bar. Like if your mutual interest is drinking, that's a very shallow mutual interest.
Exactly right.
I mean, that's all of our mutual
I mean,
interests.
like,
so-
I mean, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I think it's
shallow.
You know, and I think there's a lot of like, there's a lot
Shots
to
fired.
it for like
wrong with that?
going to a place just for the sole sake of meeting women. I think you know, women and even men, I think can pick up on that. Where
Right.
it's like, okay, this is painfully obvious. Like you're trying to like, you know, hit on me or whatever. But then if, like you said, it's when you engage in some kind of collaborative activity where everyone's kind of interested in doing, then that kind of just opens the door. And after that, it's just figuring out, you know, who
That
you
makes
get along
it helpful, I think, for a lot of people. My friend also mentioned us men need to grow a pair and just go up and say hi. It doesn't matter where. No, she straight up said, I would so much more appreciate if you aren't creepy. You don't be creepy about it.
See, I
but
feel
come
like-
up and say hi. If you make eye
Yeah.
contact, you have to pick up cues. But she would rather that than do the dating online.
I think there's an effective way to do that. So like the night that I met my wife, she was, so anyone watch Doctor Who?
No.
No.
I'm
Kinda.
Sorry.
I watched a lot of them, but I
Okay.
haven't seen all of them.
Well, for those of us who are cultured, no, I'm kidding. So
There's a lady one.
yeah, right.
how dare you?
Yeah, so like one of the things about Doctor Who is that they, you know, there's this thing called the TARDIS, and it's like this police phone box, and it's like a time machine. Long story, don't make me go into it.
I won't.
But basically, she was wearing this dress, and it had like the print on it, like the TARDIS, and I was like, oh hey, I love that dress, TARDIS, yeah, Doctor Who, and then, you know, that's kind of how I kind of sparked on the conversation, and then just kind of moved on from there. So I think it's so romantic.
So cute.
She's
I
watching,
just-
by the way.
Oh, cool.
So
Hey,
what's
babe,
not
love
creepy
you.
about that?
So she's on the
I'm
Eldorado.
looking at
No,
Oh,
I
hey.
commented on.
I like your
So-
beads.
So I think.
Barney
it's
Stinson.
all
She
about-
was impressed that I was able to make to compliment her on something that was nerdy.
Something, yeah, specific.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's
If
a
you
good
don't
point.
go do creepy things and actually are smart about how you approach someone,
That's what I'm trying to get to.
yeah, no,
if you're
I-
smart about how
that's-
you approach it, it doesn't
David
come off as
Atkinson
creepy.
says Doctor Who nerd. Nerd. Also, so Eldorado Financial is commenting,
Oh God.
and they're saying even in Phoenix in online dating, you can still find people you know in real life, which can make for some awkward situations. They also said it's easier
Yeah.
in bigger speeds for
Is
sure.
Sergio listening tonight?
I don't
Do you
think
know? Okay.
Sergio is
Because
listening.
I think that David Atkinson, who turns out to be my brother, is going to become our biggest
Everyone's
fan.
family's jumping in
Whoa.
And we should
Not
probably
mine.
have
I
him
tell
on.
them not
He's
to
very
watch.
good at it.
Okay, yeah, special guest David
I have a
Atkinson.
question though for Ryan,
Sure.
because you're the only one who is not married but has never done
Online
online
dating.
dating.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why? What is it about that does not appeal to you at this time?
Well, for one, I've heard a lot of stories of people who have tried online dating and have not really found any sort of gratifying end to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to call it success, I guess, in that way, because that's such a relative term. But like even talking to you guys or talking to my brother, it's like everybody tends to have this response like, I've just been ghosted. Like that tends to be the overwhelming thing for almost everybody who talks about their experience in online dating. It's like, it's much harder to just flat out ignore somebody who's literally talking to you face to face. Like that's so much harder to do. And in that way, like, I don't think, One of the big things that I looked into is the fact that we as individuals don't know what we want. Like the original eHarmony algorithm and everything just failed, like hardcore, because it had people input like the desired qualities of a partner, and overwhelmingly, like the success rate was like 2%.
Over
Of,
100K
like,
a
anybody.
year, is that equality?
Well, yes, but the thing they figured out is that individuals who are in successful relationships, quote unquote, successful relationships, had no clue what they actually desired in a partner. Like they didn't know what would actually complement them.
Right.
They didn't know what would actually add to their situation and help them in their pursuit of whatever they had. Because you made a good point. Like, if you're just trying to make friends, like if that's your goal, you're going to have a really hard time making friends. If you have a common goal, if you're pursuing something together, even if that's just something like Doctor Who, like you can actually have more success with that because you have common interest. Like there are a lot of things that are just missed in the process of online dating. And for one, I think we've explored a lot of those that you just get a face. You just get a couple attributes about
You get the
somebody.
picture they choose to market themselves
Exactly.
with. Yeah.
Like there's so many things wrong with it. I have no desire to do that.
Yeah.
Because I know like the overwhelming population of women are just going to be like, well, you know, like I can't really tell whether I like him. Let's say no. They're like they're going to play it safe. But I'm a charming dude.
Yeah.
Like if
That's
I can
true.
show up to a lady in person
Very
and be
true.
like, hey, like and get to know her, I'm not worried about that. Like also I've talked long enough. I
Yeah.
think that's probably good.
No, I have a theory
Talk
though
more.
about you know, you're saying like, so online dating, like the first thing you see obviously is a picture, right?
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
know, a lot of people are visual, and even if you're not,
Yes.
like a picture speaks just like 1,000. You know, what's the phrase? A picture is better than 1,000 words, or whatever. So, and I'm guilty of it too. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to paint a picture where I'm, you know, not guilty of the same thing. But it's so easy in the world of online dating to just scan through their pictures and be like, this person's
Right.
cute. This person's maybe I'm attracted. I don't know. But if you get to the point where you're past the pictures and you scan through their, you know, their bio or whatever, their interests, it's so easy to be like, yeah, this person sounds pretty great. Like you, in my, you know, you might in your head like have a scale of 1 to 10, and this person might be a 7, but you're like, there's like thousands of people on this dating site.
Right.
There's got to be somebody better than a 7. You can find a 7.5 or an 8.
There's always
And I think that's what's become really difficult with online dating is, and we touched on it a little bit before, as online dating was kind of in the infant stage, most of the people doing it were pretty serious. They had a very serious
Right.
approach to it. They wanted to find, you know, someone to fall in love with and get married. And the pond, you know, the fish, there weren't that many fish in the pond. And now it's become very mainstream. It's not really that weird to say that you're doing online dating when it was even 5 years ago. And so there's a lot more fish in the sea.
Right.
And so because of the online aspect where you don't have the face-to-face interactions like Ryan is saying, it's a lot easier just to say no to a picture than to say no to somebody in real life.
I think
Right.
there's
Ryan's
two
gone.
there's two big things that I think you and Ryan had touched on. So, like for me, looking at online dating and kind of what I'm hearing is, okay, here's this commercial, here's this pack of bubble gum. If you have this bubble gum, you're going to be surrounded by all these like supermodels and the $600,000 sports car, and then you can just go online and virtually do the same thing but with personal relationships. So it's basically just advertising. And then and that's part of the reason why I never got onto online dating, was just of that aspect, because anyone can say anything, but
Wait,
quote unquote be anything.
How long have you been married?
Over 4 years.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you easily could have.
Yeah. So there's that aspect, but then I think the other thing that I think Ryan touched on really well was, I think our culture at large doesn't understand how to date well. So before I met my wife, I had like 2 failed relationships in college, and something that I wish someone would have taught me growing up, and something I'm going to make darn sure I teach my kids, is like, okay, when you start pursuing that marriage relationship, is that if that is the ultimate goal, something that you said was you have to figure out what the heck you want. And the one way that people do that, whether you're man or woman, is you just, you go on a date with Susie on one night, you go on a date with, Stephanie another night, you go on a date with so-and-so on the weekend, and you're just playing the field and figuring out, okay, well, I like this about this person, but I also like this about this person. So then when you're putting those pieces together, then it's like, okay, like you go, I went swing dancing and I, just kind of looking at everything. It's like, you know what, Jamie, like I love Jamie, like everything about her, like, I mean, if I could
saying all this on camera is a good
I know. I'm
Serious.
her birthday's coming up, so it's only no. So, you're just looking at these things. It's like, she, if I had to spend my life with somebody, she's the one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And if having so you have to understand though, there's a massive difference between a successful marriage and a happy marriage. You'll never have a happy marriage. Success is a completely different animal because you're going to have those seasons of ups and downs and merry-go-rounds and stuff.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I think
that's interesting.
I think what you're saying is a good point. And it's more of like dating philosophy in general there at the end, but I think it's really good. And it says something about online dating because we've talked about how the major places to date have different outcomes. Like obviously eHarmony is very focused on marriages, right? Whereas Tinder is very focused on the opposite. Like Tinder is like a virtual bar. Like you're just there to hook up with people. And I think that's something too that like kind of goes into the strategy, Like, so I haven't really shared too much of my opinions on online dating. I tried it. It didn't obviously work for me because I met my wife in person. We got married.
I want to ask though, continue your thought, but I
Sure.
want to know how you and Gina met.
Oh yeah, so Gina, my wife and I met some mutual friends that went to the Bible study we all used to go to when it was at Miles's house, knew her, and when she came back to start her season, she works at a national park. They invited a bunch of people out for drinks, and they actually weren't trying to set us up, which is really funny because Caleb, Caleb, he totally would have tried to set me up.
Oh yeah.
So they legitimately didn't think of it. And the only people that showed up to the first part, which was just at Freddy's, you couldn't make it for some reason. I don't know what you were doing.
I wasn't invited.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I was just running away from something.
Steven was supposed to get married the next day. No, just kidding. But we went to Freddy's and Freddy's. It was Caleb and Jenna, so they were married, and then Josh actually was there, and then
really?
Gina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I didn't. Yeah, at the time Josh was dating someone else, and I didn't know that. And so I was like, this girl's kind of cute. The guy at the Bible study. Who's been coming.
Yeah.
Oh,
With Jess.
Was he
With
married?
Jess.
Oh,
Oh,
Josh.
yeah, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
He probably.
Anyways,
It doesn't
not
matter.
important.
Meanwhile,
After Freddy's, I was like, oh, this girl's kind of cute. We went to Felonies, and he didn't come, so it was just Caleb and Jenna, and then Gina and myself. And Caleb and Jenna sat here, and Gina and I sat here in those like two big chairs. And
Oh,
there's
it's a
all the
double date. You didn't
Aw.
know.
No one knew. And we just started talking, and that's how we met. We just really hit it off. And
Sound effects.
yeah.
So, what do you think it was about the online dating that wasn't successful for you?
Well, so I think I have a lot of thoughts. So when I was online dating is when I was still living in Phoenix. I kind of stopped it when I moved here. Kind of the same reason you guys are having trouble. Like, there's not a big pool here, and I didn't really want to date someone in Denver and be long distance. I never liked the idea of long distance.
Right.
I like
And so-
it. You don't have to see him every day.
You don't have to do that if they're in the same
So
town.
I tried
know.
Tinder, I tried
Kinda
Bumble, and I tried eHarmony. And I actually paid for eHarmony for 2 months. And out of all of those, the way that I approached online dating was like, I knew I wanted to marry somebody. Like I wasn't just like, oh, I have trouble like meeting girls I could hook up with. I didn't ever try to do that. So my approach was never going to be just like sleeping around. It was always going to be serious. So on Tinder, I think I got maybe one response, and that was it. Like literally, like out of all the people I matched with, I think I sent a message and got one response, and that was it. I sent a response, nothing. And then there's all the bots that message you, and they're like, "Click the link to chat now," and you're like, "No, you're a bot."
I got two great Tinder stories.
enter your credit card information. And I'm like, no.
Yes, please take
And
it.
then Bumble. So Bumble,
Anything for you, baby.
I almost went on 3 dates because of Bumble, and then I don't know what happened. They probably
So
found
did you
some
go on
hotter
like
guy.
2 dates?
No, I went on 0 dates, but there was 3 that almost happened.
okay,
If that makes
gotcha.
sense. So
Yeah.
like, Bumble, like I definitely chatted with more people.
But then I asked her boob size, and she
No, that's not what happened. No, I think what it was. So like, my approach was this. I was blatantly Christian in my profiles because that was another really important thing. And Tinder, I think that most people just skip
doesn't
me.
help on Tinder.
No, yeah. On Bumble, it connected me with some people, but I think on Bumble, when they realized I was like really serious about my faith, they were like, "Oh." And then on eHarmony, that was the only people I was matched with. And so but here's what I found on eHarmony, like, and this is gonna sound a little weird at first because it's, you know, as of now, my philosophy is like I care more about people's opinions and their lifestyle than how they look, but how they look is important to, you know, there's a mix,
Yes.
right? I would say that there was more hot girls that said they were Christian that didn't match with me on Tinder than there were on eHarmony. On eHarmony, there was a lot of people that wanted to match with me that I was like, I wouldn't want to kiss you. So, like, you know.
Well, that's
but I did
rude.
match. I matched with like 3 or 4 people. And the
honest.
thing is, like, they were all like 90% matches. Could have worked out. I really messaged one of them. And we talked for like 2.5 weeks. And then we actually decided never to meet because she was a little bit older and was like ready to settle down. I still wanted to travel and adventure a little bit. But what was nice is like the interactions I had on Tinder were very shallow and like non-existent. On Bumble, they were still pretty shallow, but at least like somewhat substantial. And then on eHarmony, they were actually like really deep. And like, you know, that one conversation was 2 weeks of like texting back and forth all day, every day. And then deciding like, you know what, let's just not even pursue this. So I think that like knowing what you want determines which online dating bucket you're going to go in. Like if you're just some asswipe who wants to hook up, then just Tinder. Yeah. And then like if you know you want to get married and you want to find someone that's a really good match, eHarmony. But even still, like it's just like the real world at this point, you know? It's excuse me, hiccups. It's not a guarantee.
Fun fact:
Yeah.
Rick Warren's brother started. So Pastor Rick Warren from Saddleback Church started eHarmony.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
That was
Well,
his-
he's that guy.
He's that guy.
He's the eHarmony guy?
Pastor Rick Warren's brother started eHarmony.
He's the
Nice.
guy.
I wanna
the
get
guy-
back
the old
to-
guy with the commercials.
Yeah.
Weird.
I want to get back to what you were talking about, Daniel, but it's actually something that I guess you were riffing off of Ryan there is like basically this idea of like we've kind of lost, I don't know if it's the art, the technique, or just kind of we don't know what we're doing anymore when it comes to dating. And it's like, why is that? How long have we been lost and what can we do to fix it?
So, I'll kind of going back on my story. So I was in college and I was just a young kid who had no idea what the hell he was doing. You know, I didn't have a big brother to show me the ropes, but there was this article I found online from a guy like myself who was homeschooled, and basically what he was saying was, what he was noticing was, so in the homeschool Christian community, there was this big push for courting, and you know,
I exactly know because I was homeschooled. and I
Ah,
am a
my
Christian.
brethren! I knew we had some kind of
Yes.
weird connection. I just couldn't
Yes.
figure it out.
I know exactly, and it's
Yeah.
not an excuse,
Third
but
drawer down to the right of the fridge.
it is really okay. So I'm 33. I have an older brother who's 35.
Okay.
For whatever reason, there was this book, I Kiss Dating Goodbye, Joshua Harris.
Yep.
It
that
like
guy.
wrecked people
Oh,
our
yeah.
age
He
for
came
dating and for like getting
Well, now
married.
he's not even Christian.
Yeah,
now he's not even
denounced his
married.
faith 'cause I think he
That
felt
book
bad.
like ruined everything.
Well, so now this.
Wait,
Just go.
This
Just
is-
go.
I don't know this.
Daniel
I'm
could
lost.
probably
Let's go back.
Daniel could probably explain
I'll
it a
probably,
little bit better.
I
Okay.
barely remember the details, but basically, Joshua Harris was a Christian author. Came out with I think he was homeschooled like us, and he came out with a book called "I Kiss Dating Goodbye."
So the problem is being homeschooled.
Yes, very much, very much.
Dating in homeschool is weird.
Yeah, you can't
So
date
then you
your
have to go home to
sister.
your mom.
So like
So
my,
next week we're gonna
You have
talk
to date
about
your sister,
homeschooling.
which is weird.
right?
Well,
yeah.
that or your mom.
So like my thing, I can go into hours of this crap, but
Yeah.
basically like Joshua Harris came out with "I Kiss Dating Goodbye," and then this other guy whose name I do not remember, and I'd have to go find it, but basically like this homeschooled guy was noticing like all these couples, you know, that courted and supposedly did everything right were getting divorced, and he's kind of sitting there like, well, what the F? Like, I thought we were supposed to be better than the traditional form of dating, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So then basically what he did was he went up to his grandparents and he said like, okay, so when you guys were my age, like, what did you like, how did you like date, like what was your like sort of the ritual to find a mate? And they said, well, you know, our parents taught us that you just, you know, you can date, but there's only one rule: you can't go on a date with the same person more than twice, or like you can't go on a date with somebody twice in a row.
Only
So
hand stuff.
What? Oh my god, Steven! Can we mute his mic? We should have like a red button that says "timeout." Mike.
Daniel, I think that's a good point, because it seems like a lot of Christians, me included, like we weren't taught that it's okay to do the dating game, you know, so called to play the field, as you put it earlier.
Well, but the problem is that like there's two sides of the problem. There's the reason why this guy's grandparents gave him that, or why the grandparents had that rule, was because it forced their kids to play the field, and kind of what I mentioned was
That's actually kind of cool.
figure out. So you're not being in a committed relationship. You're setting healthy expectations up front with somebody. Like, you know, when Jamie and I were dating, like I told her, I said, yeah, so I'm just kind of playing the field, kind of doing like the first date we ever went on. We went to Lux. Remember Lux downtown?
Dude,
Phoenix?
I love Lux.
Oh my god, I know. So like,
Yeah, Arizona. We don't know
Lilith.
D-backs killed the Rockies. Right.
Wait.
No.
Did you say like this was a friend who had this role until the end of high school? Like, when was the time frame?
I don't know. I'd have to look up the details, but this guy basically was told that you should basically play the field, not just jump into a committed relationship with somebody. Just, you know, go on a date with this person.
Don't put your eggs in one basket.
Diversify. Well, not even dumping your eggs. Like, you're just trying to figure out what you like.
Yeah.
And what
Well,
you're
no,
looking for
that's
in
literally what my friends kept telling me
Yeah.
in high school, because I always liked one person. And they're like,
And that's the
stop
problem.
putting your eggs in one basket.
It's very-
Date
okay,
more,
I get
like,
where you're
go,
going now.
Go
I really
try to
resonate
date more
with
people.
that.
So,
See, that's
I really
really
resonate
good
with
advice
that.
because
Yeah.
I had a tough time with it.
this is really funny.
I did too.
I got
Yeah,
that same
I did too.
advice because I used to date and try and date girls that were like probably not, I don't want to say emotionally unavailable, but not as open as I think is healthy. And that was the thing I kept doing at various. But actually, one of the girls I dated, when she was on a mission trip, and I went to my friend's wedding that was in her hometown. So I met her dad, and I had lunch with her dad. And this is so funny to get the best dating advice from your ex's dad. He's like, well, whether you guys continue on or not or whatever, you know, he's like, the thing that's important to know is your non-negotiables, and I suggest that you write them down. Think hard about the people you have dated or the people that you've wanted to date.
Right.
What are the things that are absolutely non-negotiable in a
Yeah.
person?
I wish I had that.
well, and that's
My ex's dad told me to get out of her room.
Thank God for Student Coker.
Like, I swear. Wait. Every time Steven says something, the levels just go click. Because we all start laughing.
no, but that's a very big important point, because I think you know, people say, oh, you should find yourself. Well, you're never gonna freaking find yourself. The better way to phrase that is that you should understand yourself, and especially when you're talking
That's
about
a really good distinction.
a long, successful marriage, it's understanding what the hell you are looking for.
Yeah.
And I've had ladies tell me before, like, I just be upfront and honest with them, tell them what I'm going through and what I'm feeling, and just kind of, I'm not, you know, like you said, there's kind of like this negative view of playing the field, but I'm just letting them know, it's like, look, I'm not here to like mess with you. I'm not here to like screw around. I'm just trying to figure out this kind of stuff, and I've had a lot of like positive feedback saying like, hey, like, that's very sweet, I appreciate that. And I think a lot of women, like, if you can have those kind of cojones I think the right type of women will notice that, and they would appreciate that. And I think that makes you way more.
I think
more
that's
attractive.
a great point. I think that's a great point.
I do wonder if that changes the older you get, because a lot of women start to develop some sort of
Breasts.
All right, I'm getting a drink.
No, they're just a little more skeptical. Like, and that might sound like more of a line like, "Hey, I'm just trying to figure out some things about myself."
Well,
It's like that actually is a really good thing. And even if that's true, I would want to discourage. Like, would you say that that's a more difficult thing the older you get?
Say that one more time.
That saying that you just want to figure out more about yourself, and to do so requires you to engage with different individuals. Is that going to be a more difficult thing the older you get?
No, I think it just needs to happen. I don't care if you're 20 or 30 or 40. I think it's an attitude shift. And in my opinion, if you can basically, like you said, grow up and be open and honest, and be honest with yourself, more importantly, and you can, just have the right kind of attitude and the right type of approach towards relationships, especially romantic ones. In my opinion, I think a lot of guys sell themselves short because we're sitting here talking all night about how incredibly shallow Tinder is, and how incredibly shallow relationships generally are. If you can step your game up to a more mature, emotional, spiritual, mental level when it comes to romantic relationships, I feel like you will stick out like a crazy sore thumb. And I think, for guys, I mean, kind of coming from our perspective, I think you will be way more attractive than half the dudes on the internet.
So there's a.
I'm still getting my drink.
Go for it.
Don't ask me anything.
Daniel, come back.
No.
So there's actually I think it's a statistic on this that so younger women.
This is a good beer.
This is a good beer, actually. So younger
Shot in the
women,
dark, no clue.
younger women like older guys. Because older guys are a little more mature, kind of actually know what they're looking for. So there's an actual statistic to this. So there's not even money.
It's not even money, really?
No,
Okay.
so for some
Sorry.
no.
That's
Well,
what you would jump to, right?
That's
That
what you
is
jump
what
to.
I would
So the
jump
ones
to,
that
yeah.
want money are the girls that. So this is gonna. So a lot of people don't like this, but the women that want careers and wait to meet someone and kind of play the field of Tinder and wait till they're in their early 30s, late 30s to finally go, oh, I've got my career, now I'm looking for my man. Well, they're not going to go for you if you're looking for the same age guy, because there's actually a bunch of girls that are in their early 20s that are actually looking for older guys who kind of have their lives together. Doesn't mean they're wealthy.
So what you're saying is get your life together when you're 30, and then
Well,
you
that's
get,
the thing
like,
is,
an
for
18-year-old.
most men, we start to actually mature at about 30 is when we get our lives
When
together.
our brains fully develop.
Well, that's like when men start to settle down and not be stupid.
Our brains really develop.
We're
when
still
we start to
stupid.
evolve.
Don't
You know,
even.
I was gonna say, like, Steve.
I'm retarded sometimes. That is a little different.
So Steven should date him at 18, right? When they
Yeah, right when they're out of high school, they don't know any better.
Bro, like,
It's legal. No, but there's an actual statistic to this that the 22-year-old, they like the older guy who kind of, maybe they have a house, maybe they've got a good job, they actually have a career, because guys that are 22 are not very self-efficient. So they are looking for up. Now, if there's a girl who's the same age as you, if you're in about 33, and they're starting to look for a guy who's about the same age, has the same thing for them, why would the guy who is 33 look at the girl that is also 33 when there are 22, 23-year-olds now that are interested in him?
what if she's friggin' awesome?
what?
Well, no.
Here's
Yes,
the-
no, and that is a thing. But this is an actual statistic of,
I get
the
what
guy
you're
would
saying.
actually like the younger girl, and this is a weird, you'd have to look up the statistic to it, but there's an actual thing to it where they're looking for more of the, you're career focused, and that's great. But the guy is actually, when he's 30, he's actually looking to settle down and have kids.
Here's the other thing that, and you just briefly touched on that a second ago, like and not to sound, you know,
It
sexist.
comes across. I know it comes across as sexist, but it's not meant
to sound
to be
bad. But like the one thing you haven't even mentioned yet is the fact that if having kids is important to the man or the woman, whether they're, you know, it's a 30-year-old and a 20-year-old, it's like you got that biological clock that's ticking.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like women who are older and they're just now looking for a mate, it's like
harder.
Let's get this going. I gotta have
Where if you're a guy and you're
Right,
30
right.
and you meet someone younger, you have time.
Well, that's kind of so for me, like the kind of ideal
Comes
age
across
to
as
get
sexist.
married is like 24, 25 because
I'm way past that.
well, and
We all are.
the reason
all
why
the
I-
unmarried are.
well, the reason why I say that is because like
Barely
whether-
made it.
Yeah, right.
Even that.
He said fire truck.
Fire truck.
Not only are the mics on, but this angle was on. No, Daniel, finish your thought because I think
That
it's
is a good thought.
I just
I
you
do
have the
wanna-
biological clock factor. I think.
right.
I mean, on my mom's side of the family, I think a good chunk of them kind of. I think the average age that a woman goes through menopause is in their like.
Mid-30s to mid-40s.
So I think my.
Yeah.
I think my.
I'm gonna fact check.
A few
I
women
can't
in my family, you know, it started way earlier, and so like kind of getting, if you think about it, getting married around
The average age is 51.
I was gonna say
What?
it seemed a
Oh,
little
okay,
bit
But
You guys were a
between
little
40
low.
a
and
little low on
58.
that one.
really.
Yeah, you guys were a little.
You know what it is? A woman hits her sexual
Yeah, no,
peak in the
menopause
mid-30s.
is different, but no, it gets harder to have kids once you get over 30 for women.
Yeah.
It does.
And the pregnant, and one thing I found out when my wife was pregnant was it's more risk.
It's a higher risk
It's a
of-
higher risk pregnancy.
Well, it's a higher risk of
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What is Downs like?
You
Down
and Gina will find out at some point.
So the older the lady gets, the higher like risk of Down syndrome.
Start making babies,
and
Drew.
like that kind of comes into effect. The
Right.
higher percentage of just complications in pregnancy. Not to say everyone goes through that, because I've met people
There's
that
people
were
who are, like,
40
68
and
and
had
have
kids.
children,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they were
Yeah.
fine, but the risks are there.
Right.
And me and my ex, she was always like, we have to have kids now. And I go, if God wants us to have kids at 40, we're going to have a kid at 40.
So anyway,
Sorry to go
complete
biblical.
my thought. No. So
I have a
I
point
think
after,
mid
so.
20s are a good age because you're not too young and you're stupid and you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're not too old and you have to rush everything because of the whole biological clock thing. So if you're in your mid 20s, you can at least have a good couple years to enjoy being married until like you have kids.
Well, so
what my
for
wife
women, yes. For men, we don't have that. We can
can
have
be
kids.
78 and
We can
just-
have kids at 70. We can.
Well, I think
We don't have that
so
biological
That's
clock.
some Genghis Khan
Well, no,
shit
so,
right there.
Bill
so
Burr had a
for the
kid at
women-
like
so for the women, I think
45.
for the women, I think
Yeah, I hope he's not 50.
He's like 45.
So for the women, I
think
think
it was
for
like
that
40
biological clock purposes, that's great. But I think for men also, I think it's more kind of what you were.
Mine is I want to be able to throw a ball to them.
Oh, my shoulder.
I don't want to be Dewey. I don't want to be Dewey Cox. Like, are you sure you're mine?
So I would.
fought in 2 world wars.
I want to take it in a different direction.
I'm just saying for guys, I think mid 20s is good for the sake of maturity because when you do get married, I think that matures you, and I think you grow up quite a bit.
Well, girls mature faster than guys do.
Agreed.
It takes longer for guys
true as
to.
well.
So they actually are so if a girl's 25 and you're 30, there's actually a level of maturity that is similar to each other versus a 25-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman. And I'm
Although-
not saying there's not. I'm just saying,
So-
in my perspective, if I found someone at 25, I would not have been
if there's
mature
any
enough.
18 to 21-year-olds looking for a single man in Montrose, Colorado,
And ladies and gentlemen, tonight we want to thank our sponsor, Stephen Coker, the single man.
I'm free.
He knows how to drive a commercial vehicle, even though he doesn't have drive a commercial license.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, I just said that on air. Anyways,
I don't do it. I know how to because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
used to
yeah,
have
yeah.
a CDL. It
he
just
acted in
lapsed.
movies.
I did.
What? You were in movies?
Yeah, in commercials.
He was in
That's
commercials.
That's a whole nother
But he still
podcast.
won't. He still won't
He's a
work for me.
podcast.
He won't let me contract him for
That's
my
not true.
business.
I've
Well,
offered. You just
I'm
are
sitting
very
here
inconvenient
looking
on
at you
time.
Like, when are you going to contract me?
No, you've only ever offered to do YouTube videos.
What?
No, you always ask when I work. I have a real job.
No.
That's true. You
It's
always
like,
ask
hey,
us
it's
for,
12
like,
o'clock in the afternoon. You want to come? And I'm like, I work 9 to 5.
I always, hey, that's Daniel's fault. That's what. No, I'm just kidding.
What's my fault?
When there's no extras. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, that's actually not just you. That's every client I have. That's because Montrose doesn't have.
I'll
have
try
a
to
real
I'll try to be better
Oh,
with that.
dating in
Oh,
LA.
it doesn't matter. It
That
really,
sucked. If you want
Really?
to, you want to
really?
talk about that.
Let's
Whew.
talk about that.
Wait,
Yeah.
talk about what?
Oh, I
Dating
had
in
a
LA.
point.
No, go for
Okay.
your point.
Okay.
Dating in
all right.
Los Angeles?
Finish the point.
Yeah.
Finish the point.
My point was this. I think so. I want to preface this though. I think that this is true at any time. Your point standing obviously with the fertility clock, but I think there's something to be said
Take your
about
time,
marrying someone. And this is me speaking to my situation. I'm not saying this is right for everybody, so my wife and I are very close in age. She's a cougar by 3 months.
My wife's a cougar by, I think, 5 months?
5 months.
Yeah, somewhere right
Jamie, can you fact check that? She's
there. 4 or 5 months, something like
so yeah, so Gina's like 3 months older than me, which is like
Your
nothing. You know,
brother.
we're the same age.
He
I
said
think there's
Phoenix
something
is
to be
silly.
said about marrying someone that's either similar in age or similar in maturity and life experience. You know, which those aren't necessary. They're usually different, but like you can be mature and have as much life experience and maybe not be quite the same age. But for me, I found in my very young, untested marriage, and this is not advice, this is observations, that sharing the ebbs and flows of life together is a really powerful thing for both of our growth, right? Because like ultimately the person you marry is not just like some convenience and comfort, it's someone that you want to grow with, right? And this is true in the context of online dating. Like the person that you're really looking for is someone that you know that it's not just good for right now, it's good for this person is open enough to grow into the future with me, and we're at least in similar enough points in our spiritual journey, our life journey, that we can, you know, kind of share those things together.
That is a point we have not brought up.
Spiritual?
Spiritual.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because we can go based off of age and things like that, but there is a huge value to that.
Similar
Spiritual.
beliefs.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
Similar
that
belief
changes
system.
everything. That
That's
changes
everything.
Well, because
every aspect of it.
at some point, everyone gets ugly. Men and women,
What?
we get old and we get ugly.
Yeah.
And attraction is it is important. Like you have to want to just tear the person apart.
But-
like that's really important.
But
But-
sex
but-
isn't everything.
Right. At some point, you're not. At some point, people have sex for the last time, and they still have to be married for 20 years till they die.
Yeah, like
You
what
know?
if you lose your, what if the thingy falls off, and then she divorces you?
You have to get a prosthetic.
That actually might benefit people.
Oh
Okay,
my god.
so kind of bringing it back, like one thing you kind of touched on that I'll kind of expand on. I had a old family friend tell me one time. He said that people are like tea bags. If you want to, not D bags.
It doesn't matter. Teabags is still sexual.
Okay, all right.
Did you ever play, did you ever play Halo 3?
Apparently, yes. We
So
all
you
know.
know
I
when
know
you
I know the video game reference. Anyway, with that aside,
Arabian Ghost.
okay,
I'm so
this
glad
got
there's
ruined. So
Continue.
anyway, apparently, without the whole,
Your point got teabagged.
I know. Yeah, no kidding.
Continue with the teabagging.
God. All right, so
Oh my gosh.
Pete, if you really want to know if you really want to know what someone is like, you have to put them through hot water.
Yeah.
And in part of my wife and I's story, when we were dating, we were mugged at gunpoint. That's
Wait.
all.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were.
You threw her in front.
What happened? Tell us about that story.
That's I won't. Just for the sake of time, I won't go into it. But we were mugged at gunpoint, and we had a very unique situation where we went through this very intense, traumatic event together, and not trying to puff my own smoke, but I think we're the outlier because we, at a very early on in our relationship, in the heat of whatever hell you can throw at us, I saw a side to Jamie. She saw a side to me, and instead of it pushing us apart, it brought us closer together. And and that's kind of one thing I try to tell people. It's like, look, if you're looking for because Drew and Gina, I mean, I don't know, you guys have been married for like what,
almost 5 months.
5 months. So
almost, yeah.
Right. So like you talk to anyone that's been married for a long, any extended number of years, you're going to go through those ebbs and flows of life, and marriage is work. And there's two types of marriages: those with problems and those that lie about it. So if you can find somebody that can go through those hellish times or those dry seasons, at the end of the day, I mean, you can throw any supermodel in front of me. Whatever. I know it's shallow. And kind of to the point, what your point was, or I'm sorry, you brought it up.
Steven.
Steven. Somebody. Steven brought it up. Values and what you two as a couple hold dear are very important. And so if you can base I know looks, plays a big part of it, but if you can like base everything or a good chunk of it on values, I believe you're gonna set yourself up for a lot of success. And I'm kind of talking to other older couples that have been married for 50, 60 plus years. I've kind of found that common theme. So that's my soapbox.
No, that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense.
All right.
What's the comment section doing?
Nothing. It got really sloppy.
Eldorado. Oh wait, Jamie said, I think online dating is a great idea since you can filter, assuming the other person is truthful. For
That's
eHarmony,
assuming.
Well,
you have
that
to go
actually-
through so
that's
many
also-
steps.
But
Problem.
no, but that actually brought
That's a
back to your
problem.
point. When you can filter it,
Wait, what happened?
David Atkinson said mugging
is a date
is a date idea I hadn't considered.
have someone mug you to make them fall in love, because you'll be like, baby, I'll save you.
Right. No. The joke that I tell people is we went through advanced premarital counseling.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Do I put her in
Hey,
front of me?
David,
Do I go
that's
in
a good
front of
point,
her?
David.
All right, so we ended up kind of talking
Take
about
her
dating
wallet?
in general, which I think is a good place to land because at the end of the day, we live in a world where listen, we're having a conversation in real time, but there's hundreds of two people watching us through the internet, right? And if we were Joe Rogan, there'd be 2 million people watching us through the internet, and that's just the way that humans have connected now, which I will say can never replace this, right?
Human
In-person
interaction.
interaction. But online dating is another toolkit, right? It's another way to meet someone that you can apply these principles of how you find your mate.
It's there's a word for what it is. Shoot. Come back to me. I'm just kidding. No, so when you have something so readily available to you,
Instant mashed potatoes.
it actually makes it harder. So
Yeah, it
what?
does.
That's probably
makes,
true.
Makes what harder?
so dating.
Yeah,
So
it
now
does.
that it makes
I will
it
say
harder.
we didn't really critique it that much. I would say my main critique of online dating is that,
Well, no,
it
but, like,
makes being superficial
difficult.
valuable.
Well, yeah, but it also
It makes
also
it easy.
gives.
It makes
There's
it
so
the
many
excuse.
options, and I think for women it's way more than men. Is I can always find better.
Yes.
I can
Actually,
always find better.
That was something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's actually what I wanted. That's my
Really?
yeah.
What I
because
wanna
no,
talk
Let's
because
talk about that for a little bit.
yeah,
Let's talk about
because-
that for a little bit.
yeah, because I actually want to get in. I want to tell you guys my 2 dating stories. From
Oh,
Okay.
But
But-
are these the Tinder stories?
I had one Tinder. I gotta remember the other one, but
We're
I
still
remember
only
one.
at half of our time for last week, so we're still.
Oh,
I think
neat.
we're only
Oh.
at an hour 14. So.
Oh, we've got an hour. No, but it is like it's so much. There's so 2 stories, both Tinder. All you have to do is swipe right and you find someone better,
That's true.
or swipe
Better.
left and you find someone
See,
better.
this goes back to the
and it hurts. It actually
Right.
It actually. So from dating sites, I actually saw how shallow I was.
Huh.
Like, really, I won't date that person. Really? Oh, there's better. Oh, there's better. Oh, there's better. There's no satisfaction. There's always something better.
It's like that episode of How I Met Your Mother when Barney puts his phone number on.
And he keeps getting a phone, and he
Yeah,
always has
he
to answer the phone.
That's always dialing.
Yeah,
because
and he
there's
keeps meeting
always a
great
better
people.
guy.
Well, for
Yeah,
him,
all of them are like exactly what he would want.
but he keeps. Oh, I
But
got to
the
answer
phone
the
is
phone for
always
the
ringing,
next
but
best
there
thing
could
because
be something
it's
better.
always going to be better.
Yeah.
That's like the instant gratification part of our lizard
and
brain.
that's what
Like
it is.
just
It's
being like, oh, this
instant
could be
gratification.
better. And that's really shallow and objectifying if you think about it, because you could have this amazing woman who you have the potential to grow with, that could mother your children, that could be with you when one of you gets diagnosed with cancer and survives it, and then your parents die, and your kids grow up and have grandchildren, and you live this amazing life together,
You get
and you
mugged.
throw that away for the girl with bigger boobs on Tinder.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's
horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Cindy has a great job, and she would be a great mother. But Beth has huge boobs. I don't know who to pick.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
true.
this-
But it's actually
It's true. It's
but it's
true.
actually, I think it's harder for men in this aspect.
I disagree. I think
No.
it's...
So the reason I disagree with you is a man, if a girl, like I know this from experience of shallowness. Yes, there are girls that have talked to me that I have just plain ignored. But I can guarantee you, for the lady, she will actually start talking to you, and another guy will come along that is better in her mind, and it is easier for her to find the better than it is for the guy, because the guy actually will pinpoint someone he likes. He will go, I find you attractive, and they will write you. Where the girl, she might start talking to you, but then the next one comes in.
Oh,
That's
okay.
an interesting
Yeah.
point. I
Yeah,
actually
so-
really like that.
Where
So-
the guy will actually focus more on that one person, where she will go,
This is
yes,
good.
but
Yep. I
She
think
goes-
that's
So what you're
totally
saying
true.
is,
It's self-defeating on both sides.
Yeah.
yeah.
so the guy is more picky on the front end. Like,
the girl
okay, these
is-
girls
yeah.
might have almost the same bio, and girl A, we like their bio better, like how
The
they
guy
self-express
just wants
their
someone.
values.
The guy
But
wants
girl
someone
B is
he-
hotter, so we're gonna go with girl B, right? So girl
Yeah.
A, we like their bio better. They probably actually are a better fit for us, and we're still attracted to them. But girl B is like a 9.8, and girl A is a 9.2. So we go with girl B as a guy. And then what you're saying is we went with girl B and we said, whoa, girl B. And then girl B is on the other end receiving 400 inbox messages a day. And then she just goes, nope.
Yeah, well, not even
Yeah.
that.
I-
So with a guy, when I write someone, that's my like. I'm kind of putting my eggs in one basket at this moment. Is this one girl, and if she writes back,
Have you ever seen a girl's Tinder inbox?
no, I know it's awful, but that's
Oh
the thing.
my God.
If she writes back, do you know what that means? Because I know how many people have wrote her. So when she writes back, it's like
You're
oh,
way more invested.
I'm
than
way
she
more
is at that
invested,
point.
and
Yeah.
she's already on to the next.
Which only
So on to the
perpetuates the,
next.
problem.
And that's the
Right.
thing. So for guys, I think it's harder for that aspect. Even if you match, so I matched with someone, like, and I know she matched with me,
yeah.
because I matched with her first, and then a day later she matched. So I wrote her, and then I never heard from her.
Oh, I never heard
Because
from
it is so easy for the better.
Yeah.
I didn't
we
like
think-
what he said. I
This might be a good kind of final question. So we've talked about online dating, into dating, online dating as a tool. Do we think that there's a part of the medium, since you can't be with the person? So like for me, one of the most important ways that I connected with my wife was seeing how she interacted with people. One of my favorite
Well,
things
no, that's
about my
important.
wife is like in person, like how she acts is just like one of my favorite things about her. How she carries herself, how she knows how to interpret situations. If I would have met her online, all I would have is the best picture of herself that she could put forward. Do you think that some of this limited interaction kind of forces our hands to be
Well, it does.
superficial like
Well,
that?
that's why.
Absolutely.
That's where for
Absolutely.
for women, it's the social structure. She wants
Right.
that. What are you? Who are you? But she
Right.
doesn't get that.
And then
Yeah.
for guys, they get the picture with the nice TNA, and that's
Yeah.
and that's yeah.
For me, I think it's totally like online about superficialness. It makes it easier to be superficial. And
His batteries died.
my experience, and I don't know if it's just kind of this theory I've developed because it's an easy excuse or what, but so I am an amputee. I was swimming in the Colorado River and sharks came and they attacked me one day.
So you lost your leg to a Colorado.
The Colorado River shark. It's a very rare creature, but it was a very fateful day for me. So
Freshwater.
yeah, freshwater,
Yeah, freshwater
Colorado
sharks.
River sharks. They're anyway. So my point is though that I've had many interactions where I start having this dialogue back and forth with, girl A or with Susie, and inevitably because I have profile pictures that, it's pretty obvious that I have one leg in my profile pictures. Inevitably, she will ask, "So what happened with your leg?" I will share the story about what happened with my leg. I will never hear from them again. It's just a pattern. Like, it happens all the time. And I'm not trying to, I'm not, blaming them. It's almost understandable because they're like, well, this guy's probably perfectly reasonable, but so is this dude over here, Mark. But
Who
he
has two
actually
legs.
has 2 functioning legs and
I'm sorry.
not, an insane amount of medical, debt in his life that we have to all of a sudden deal with and inherit if we potentially get married. And I think,
Is it okay if I say a really cruel joke right
yes, please
now?
do.
So you're basically saying the other guys have a leg up on the.
They have a leg up. Steven, you have 2 functioning legs, so you have a leg up on them.
Yeah, but I still can't get a
I'm
date.
sorry. Hey,
Yeah.
I love
no,
you, brother.
it's okay. And in my mind, I'm like, would I don't know, because I've never come across a
You should
lady
you
where
should
I
say the
start
leg
having
that
beers.
needs to works just fine.
But it's a pattern.
Oh my god.
Here's
And I'm
the-
like,
of
what the heck?
I think
It's
I
weird.
sincerely believe that at the end of the day, if somebody, if the fact that you have one leg
Mm-hmm.
deters somebody from at least attempting to date you or get to know you or pursue some kind of relationship, if that is if they're gonna choose a guy because I don't know, the point I'm trying to get to is that if I don't know, people
You're
are shallow.
saying you don't want that
Or
person.
shallow.
You don't want that person.
And I agree with
It
you.
shows the shallowness of
I
what.
agree with you, but it shows the shallowness of online dating because if you were
I'm sorry.
Unrelated.
We're gonna go.
if
we're
you
gonna
were
go
actually
that-
having interactions in the real world, they would be able to look past that because they'd
Right.
be able to see your character, your personality come out.
Exactly.
Maybe
Right.
you're funny or whatever.
And that's where I was coming from, where people, I think,
Mm-hmm.
date, quote unquote, dating has been kind of a lost art within
Yeah,
our culture,
for
just
sure.
because, they're going to allow something like a prosthetic leg to deter them from actually trying to get to know you. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Drew, what in the hell were you laughing about?
Well, okay, so
Oh God.
so you said you lost your leg doing what?
I was rafting the Colorado River and
said swim.
Swimming.
You know,
in a
when you
Colorado
raft, you go
River shark.
swimming.
Swim every now and then.
Yeah, sorry. I was in the water.
And
on
it was a
raft
Colorado
trip.
River shark?
Colorado River shark.
So David Atkinson
Oh.
says that's a lie. It
David
was a
doesn't. David doesn't know anything.
That's a lie. It was a horrific smoothie making accident.
Bravo, David.
David, why'd you have to say that, David? It's true.
And Jamba Juice has been exposed.
Yeah. I have a lifetime supply of Jamba Juice
Oh my
smoothies,
gosh.
so I should put that on my profile. Maybe I can take them out.
Dude, that
I'll
would
come
so,
to Denver and I'll take you out to
Dude.
Jamba Juice.
That would so get you so many ladies. Oh my god.
So then I'd also have
You
to
would
pay
get
$20
laid.
at Jamba Juice every other day.
Dude, it's just a very convenient place to go. You don't even have to ask do you want to get coffee? Where do you want to go?
Jamba Juice.
It's just Jamba Juice. It's
Yeah.
just Jamba Juice.
Jamba Juice.
All the time.
We were
Let's go to
talking.
Jamba
We were
Juice.
talking. Keith Brooks or with something Brooks, the guy who made the Mel Brooks. I'm sorry.
Mel Brooks.
Space
And how he was making all those Jew jokes. Jamba Juice.
Jamba juice.
Jamba Juice. Jamba Juice.
Oh boy. And there's defunding number 2.
So Ryan, but you
We're
wanted
not
to talk about
anti-Semitic.
that.
That's
What we
horrible.
kind of agreed on. Did you had something on that?
Yeah, I did. The thing I really wanted to talk about is that there was this TED Talk that came out a long time ago about the paradox of choice. That The way the guy described it is that when the dude was like maybe 50s, 60-year-old, he was saying like, when I used to go shopping for jeans as a kid, it was always easy. Like you'd get one pair of jeans, you'd get, it's basically the one option. You'd get it. It wouldn't fit great. It wouldn't be comfortable. You'd wash it a couple times and then it'd be fine. Nowadays, you can go to the store and you can get like 40 different kinds of jeans. Mm-hmm. Like objectively, he's like, the jeans I'm wearing now, giving this talk, fit better than the jeans I had when I was young. I am far less satisfied with these jeans because there is always in the back of my mind the idea that I could have another pair of better fitting jeans. Always. There's always a better fitting pair of jeans.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you say that, because actually I think I listened to a sermon and it was more broad. It was, why are people so unhappy in life? And it's because nobody has purpose, because there is so much purpose that they could choose from.
Mm-hmm. We never choose it because there's so many options.
So
There's so many options.
Do you think part of the problem is just the lack of contentment?
Well, that and being lost. You don't even get to pick. Mm-hmm. There's so many options that you don't know what to pick. Like it's not even saying you pick something and you stuck with it. It's saying like it's like going to college. I can be whatever I want. But what is that? Mm-hmm. I don't know, because there's too many options to pick from. It used to be I go to the army. I join the military.
And it's almost
then I get
easier.
married. Now it's
almost easier to like just
do nothing.
Like,
I think the fact that we put our purpose or our worth on things that really, in the grand scheme of things, is especially in the perspective of eternity, really don't have a lot of value.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Like, so I'm a financial planner, and okay, I'm not working, I don't work for a big, massive $3, $4, $5 trillion corporation, or I don't run the world's largest, most well-known hedge fund. But even within my line of work, for the sake of eternity, like, if I can use my occupation to help people, whether or not I benefit economically or not, I believe, based on the promises that God has written in Scripture, that at the end of the day, I think it's worth way more than anything, wealth, status, the $600,000 car, the things that women on Tinder or Bumble or whatever
what matters most.
What exactly the things that matter most.
Did we just take this to a theological place?
I did, kind of. Sorry.
I'm
you know what's
pretty
funny though?
The only
I think the
Catholic
goal
is
is
taking
to
a piss.
take.
Let's make it biblical now.
I think the goal is to take any subject and turn it some part theological.
Well, everything's spiritual to the spiritual person.
Agreed.
To the one who's spiritually minded
Right.
and thinks about these things. Everything actually falls into that vein of reference. So it's not a surprise.
No, I mean, we've been kind of I think inching on that territory all night.
Which territory?
Spiritual territory. And that's kind of the heart of this podcast, right? Is we start off in the worldly, never really, and we kind of end up here. And I think that talking about all this is a really important segue into all of these things are a symbol of who we're connecting with to the point of marriage, which is
because
becoming one flesh.
There is that spiritual aspect to it
Right.
that not a lot of people realize.
Right. Well, and if you think about becoming one flesh with a person, it means you're so united. This is why divorce is so damaging, and I don't want to be insensitive to the reality that 50% of marriages in our culture end in divorce, and that's a reality that we can't just readily change. But I think there's not enough people that talk about how damaging that is, right? It think about it. If you're one flesh and then you split, you're ripping yourself in half.
And then you have the kids, if you have children, get dragged through the mud of that.
Right.
Well, so I have a lot on that actually.
Okay.
Go for it.
People are dating more they're dating the wrong people more. They're having kids with the wrong people more. They're marrying the wrong people more. And so now divorce is easier. Because I shouldn't have done it in the first place.
It's such an easier scapegoat.
Well, and not only that is dating sites. I can always find better. Okay, I'm in a marriage and it's not going so great. I can always find better.
Right.
See, that's way more toxic.
Yeah, but
Like, what I was
is
pressing
the
on is
side.
more in like the field where you're trying to figure out like who's the prospective partner, rather than like, hey, I already engaged with somebody to like a very intense degree.
Yeah, but people don't go that
Who
deep.
could be better?
Yeah, but people don't even go that
Think
deep.
about that.
It's always better, and like
Yeah.
not to go into divorce and marriage, but it is.
I
It's
didn't think about that.
it's.
Well, we approach.
I can always find better because in society
Right.
we are taught better.
This is going to be my one critique. This is interesting. You guys know that as an entrepreneur, I love capitalism. But we have taken the
Mr.
free
Moneybags
market.
from the Monopoly box. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
What we've done
Do
is,
not pass
is
go.
so I think like that capitalism is aside, throw that away. Materialism is a problem, and we've taken our cultural like secular view of materialism that only material existence is what is real, and material goods specifically. So that's philosophical materialism, but also economic materialism. That what I can buy is what matters most.
Looks.
What my house looks like, what my car looks like, right? When we apply that to human beings, we take the worst part of our economic system and apply it to human beings, and that's horrible. Like that's what we were talking about earlier. Like there's always another person if you swipe left, and they might be hotter, and they might. It's like
They
it's
might
like
have
gambling.
2 legs.
My burly wife
Right.
won't lose weight.
Well, and then here's what you miss out on. Like, here's what you miss out on. The best parts of life are the unexpected gifts that redeem your suffering. The best parts of life. So it's like with Andrew, someone that might pass you up because you don't have 2 legs, if they had married you and then seen the resilience that I see in you as your friend, but as your wife, like someone who's your wife is going to know that
Yeah,
to a
if Drew
way
married
deeper
you.
level. Right, no.
Marriage is what brings
Whoever
us
you
together
marry.
today.
Drew, if you married me,
Back
you'd be
to
very
men are better together.
Oh my god. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The way that you have a good attitude about life, with all the suffering that you've gone through, is a gift. And
For sure.
someone can benefit from that.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're passing over you for such a superficial reason
It's a blessing.
is a complete
That is good.
self-sabotage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the best parts of
Thanks.
life are how we can creatively redeem our suffering. So when we reject person after person after person that would be a great potential fit, someone we could grow with and live with and move with and be with and become a united one flesh person with, when we reject that because the next person might have all that and a bag of chips and bigger boobs, or from the girl
What
side,
kind of chips?
they might be that same person with a bigger 401k at the same age because they worked for
if she has that
Vanguard
and
longer.
big
That's just, I don't know. That's not a personal attack.
I know.
Okay.
That's so funny because like those were like the pure stereotypes.
funny.
But go ahead.
Yeah, but that's my point, right? It's like, as much as we all like, oh, I don't want to stereotype, we all live into them.
They're
That's
stereotyped for a reason.
right. Online dating or not, the problem that we have in our culture with dating is that we don't understand the value of each person's true uniqueness, and that uniqueness is in their shortcomings as a lived reality in their suffering.
Wow.
Well, it's the stupidest cliche, but if you,
Interesting.
what is it? If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Like, I hate that phrase, but it is actually
So
like
true.
the most true.
There's a way to
statement.
redeem it, because usually what people mean is if you can't handle my toxic parts, then get rid
Yeah,
of
well,
me.
and that's what's awful.
That's
if you can't
awful.
handle my talk, no, what it means is you can't handle me when I'm like when
Okay.
life's falling apart.
Yeah.
Drew, you put it very well.
No, you
Yeah, you
did.
did.
You
Very well.
summarized it
I liked
really well. Can you say that one more time?
Okay, so
Can you remember? Can you just reverse
the best
Rewind.
the best parts of life are learning how someone uniquely redeems their suffering. Everyone suffers, and we all suffer uniquely. okay? My suffering was very deep for the reasons it was. Andrew's suffering is deep for the reasons it was. Stephen's is the same. Some people might, if you could create an objective scale, they might have it worse or not, but who the hell could create that scale? The only thing I think is guaranteed in life is that it's going to suck at some point. Mm-hmm. How can you creatively redeem that? When you reject someone on superficial means of like, oh, well, they are hotter at 25 than that person is at 25. You're missing out on what that person's unique redemptive gift is. How can they look at all the awful parts of the world and make them into something beautiful? You could totally swipe left, or heck, you could be in person and reject somebody based on something that you thought was important that's superficial, that's going to be gone in 10 years, and you missed the most important part of how they engage with suffering in the world and how they redeem it. And that's what's important. When you're 85, you're not going to look back and be like, I'm glad I married that girl with the really big boobs or the really nice face and the Victoria's Secret look. At 85, she's not going to look like that. And if that's what you're going for, you're going to leave her and you're going to be endlessly disappointed. Whereas if you go after what is this person's unique way to deal with the problems of the world, and is that something that I need, that's way better.
Yeah.
And so like for my wife, that's what she does for me, and I can only hope that that's what I do for her. That the way that I deal with suffering is twofold. I like to rewrite it, and I like to be aggressive in fixing it and finding what the problem is. She likes to be a helper. She likes to be by your side and picking you up and caring for you and taking care of what you can't even begin to see. Our combination is unapproachable. Her blind spots, I help. And my blind spots, she's the only one who's ever seen them and actually given me advice.
You guys balance
we balance each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the most important thing.
Okay, so that's why my relationship didn't work. Is because I'm a very it'll be okay kind of person. Even in the tough times. Mm-hmm. It'll be okay, we can get through it. Because I understand you're always gonna have a hard time with something. You're always gonna struggle, but I understand that no matter what, we can get through it. Sorry, we're doing something.
Keep on.
But she was very negative. She couldn't see the good that would come from it. Where I always could see. No matter how hard it got, I can see the good that will come from it.
The number of people or guys that I've talked to, or older gentlemen that have told me, like, yeah, I went to my some odd year high school graduation, and the hottest girl in the class walks in,
See, mine didn't. Mine was still pretty good looking, but she was miserable.
See, that's even worse.
What is it in scripture?
You're not
it says
old enough to get to that point.
I'm just there's a scripture verse that says something along the lines of like.
Oh no, I'm good.
Are we good? Oh, I'm good on drinks.
Sorry.
There's a scripture verse where in Proverbs it talks about how better to be on a roof alone than to be in a beautiful house with a nagging wife or someone that's miserable. Nothing towards women. I'm just saying what scripture says.
Vice versa.
No, a miserable life because of somebody that frustrates you.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's
whatever that looks like.
It's really okay, you can base your relationships strictly on looks, but I mean, I'm sorry guys, I'm not going to look this hella attractive forever.
Damn, Daniel.
I will.
Damn, Daniel.
I was told I would get better with age, like a fine wine.
Because
have
of
a
just
short
for men.
life.
I just, and that was kind of the thing I was trying to talk to earlier. It's okay, you can base your relationship or values on things that are, basically fade over time or shallow or superficial, or you can focus your relationship on values and things that really matter in the grand scheme of things in the sight of eternity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's my point.
That's awesome. I like
We're
that point.
at a minute 40.
A minute 40. We've only been talking for a
really
minute
working
40.
on that 2 hour mark.
Yeah, we are.
I think
We're
that's
trying.
our sweet spot. And
Say
I
an
think
hour 40?
We're
at an hour 40.
Then maybe we should work on finishing thoughts.
Well, do you guys want to hear? I've got
Yes,
two
I haven't
dating
heard your Tinder
stories.
story yet.
Oh,
I
wait.
got two.
Oh my god.
Steven's
Okay.
Tinder stories, then final thoughts.
Got it.
And then,
Okay.
wait, Andrew, I want to give you an opportunity. You're online dating. We haven't even... Oh, God, the helicopter.
The
The
police.
helicopter.
The popo. The fuzz.
I don't have any great stories, to be honest.
Okay.
I've been ghosted a few times. That's about it.
So they're not like great, but I
Is
think
that,
they're
that's
kind of
like, so
hilarious.
you've experienced that part of it?
Yeah, but I mean, I've gone out like a few times with people I
Okay.
met online, but nothing was really long lasting. Nothing, they eventually just fall through. So my main thing is I see a lot of sites where, I'll be like, oh, this person looks interesting. I look at their profile. Yeah, she seems pretty great. We have a lot of common interests. I'll message her. And usually they're like, I'm an open book. Just hit me up. And so you're like, okay. And you send some nice little message. And I never hear from them. I'm like,
Because
I
you didn't
don't
say, show me your
know.
boobs.
Like, what the heck? You. I
Send-
thought you said.
Send nudes.
Send news. You said
So-
you're an open book.
Yeah, that's my story. Like, I usually.
Oh, my God.
If I'm currently doing online dating, I have sent out so many little messages. I have heard back from, like, there was one person who we had like a 3 thing, like, dialogue back and forth, and then like I sent her something. I'd never heard from her again. And like, I don't know where it went wrong. I don't know what the deal is. That's my story.
Are we going Steven's Tinder story?
I got two.
Go for it.
Well, I've
So
got two
my
dinner
full-on-
dates.
My dating experience, so you go.
So I don't go. So okay. So backstory for me is so you guys were actually talking about how you went on a lot of dates. I've had 3 girlfriends and I've maybe gone on like maybe a handful of dates in my life, and I'm 31, so I haven't had a lot of experience. Not by choice, to be honest. But California, that's another story of dating. But because I actually didn't start online dating until I moved to California, but never could meet someone there. But when I moved back to Denver, so I went on one Tinder date, and I've been online dating for over 8 years, 9 years, and I've gone on one date. And this girl, so I'm so glad my friends went with me, but it was Halloween, and I got this girl to come to a haunted house. She was the most dull, boring person I have ever met in my life. All she wanted was sex, I swear to God. But I took her, I paid for her, went to this thing, and I was like, hey, so I'm Steven, blah, 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 who are, like, trying to get to know her, and she was from California. And I'm like, that's so cool. I actually just moved back from California. What part? And her answer was Berkeley. I'm like, okay, so what brought you out here? My job. What is your job? Accounting. This was our conversation for about 2 hours.
Dude,
Wow.
One-worded answers.
dude, that's just an accountant.
Brutal.
I
but-
have the deepest appreciation for accountants, but I could never.
No, it was awful. But it was like,
Takes the right person.
and I'm like, okay, so I mean, what made you choose Colorado?
Just kidding.
Wanted to get out of California. And I'm like,
Weed.
okay.
Oh, wait, yeah,
Do you
but
like
in
accounting? It pays good. This was 2 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, thank God my friends are here. And they're like, she was probably nervous. And I go, no, nervous is like, yeah, I mean, I like my job. I don't know. But she was like, it's okay. And so it's
It's
like,
dead inside.
yeah, it really was. And I was so disappointed. Like, but it was just kind of cool to get someone to actually finally say, let's hang out. And it was the worst experience I've ever had. And, but thank God my friends were there. Actually, I have a third story I want to tell. It's not my story,
tell
but
it.
I'm going to
Tell
tell
it.
this after I tell my second story. So that was my only dating experience from online dating. And it was the worst experience I've ever had for a date. And I don't date a lot. My second experience was a girl, I matched with her on Tinder, talked with her for like a second, and she ghosted me. Ended up running into her downtown,
Oh, you told us this.
where
yeah.
all of a sudden I became the most interesting person she's ever met.
It's like the Dos Equis commercial.
Yeah, like I ran. Yeah, so like she.
Wait, that's a really interesting point.
Yeah. And it was just like the most random. So what happened was I messaged this girl. We matched and we talked, and she just ghosted me. And me and my friends went downtown one night. I mean, this was like a month later from talking to this girl. And my friend goes, "Hey, I found this girl. I think you'll like her. I really like her friend. Will you come talk with me?" And I go, "Okay, whatever." So I go out over there, and it's this girl that I literally had talked to a month ago.
That's so interesting. Actually, I'm not saying this is the person you should be with.
Oh, hell no. Actually, I went,
But
honey.
a slight bit of familiarity goes a long ways. Seriously.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
so she didn't even know. She didn't recognize me at all.
Oh,
really?
she didn't recognize.
No. She had no idea who I was.
Yeah, that's what they do. They
No.
recognize.
Well,
you. They
maybe.
just
Well,
pretend
I
they
figured she
don't.
didn't because
Subconscious and non-conscious.
I figured she didn't because she's talked to so many people
Oh.
where I haven't.
Yeah, that
So
could be
I
true.
can pinpoint who I've talked to. She might not be able to. So, but I go downtown. My friend goes, "I've got this girl," and all of a sudden, I'm living a little larger than I've lived in a while because all of a sudden there's this pretty girl who wants to talk to me, and she really does, and she's like trying to dance with me and try to like get me to move around, and I'm just not having it. I'm like, no. Well, she was wasted, first off.
Oh, well.
Which
yeah.
is, but
That
it
contributes.
That's a bummer.
but it was also like a sign of you're not the girl I want anyways. But it was just so interesting that this girl who ghosted me because I wasn't good enough on dating site, all of a sudden I was good enough.
Right.
And she had no idea who I was.
I mean, that's still interesting, though.
That kind of goes
in
back to
real
the
life-
like how we're saying like the real life interactions. It's like a lot better than these superficial interactions that you have online.
But it's funny because then I didn't want anything
But,
to do with it.
but I think that was maybe because you recognized her and you were like, she ghosted me, and like you were just kind of like almost
Actually, if
subconsciously
she
being like, whatever. Like, I don't
wasn't
want
the way
anything
she
to do with
was,
this.
if she was just a nice, normal person that was like, hey, and just had a conversation, I would have been 100% okay with it.
Okay.
It was this weird, all of a sudden, like, on me. Like, I'm not used to that. Where, like,
Right.
come dance, like, grabbing me and things. And I'm like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Where, if she was just like, hey, and wanted to have a conversation, 100% would have been okay with
Yeah.
it.
Gotcha.
But it was just this weird paradox. And then I've got my third one. It's not my story. It's somebody else's story, but I love it. And it's a Tinder story. And it's very inappropriate, but I love it.
Oh boy.
So, this
Oh,
guy,
that camera's dead.
Mute.
this guy got a match on Tinder. Pretty girl. And he was like, hey, can we meet up? And she goes, yeah, why don't you come over? And that's a typical thing, just come over to the house, which, I'm sorry, people have become way too trusting.
Right.
And that is another topic we did not get to talk about. And, but, so this girl goes, yeah, come on over to my house, and gave him the address. And I mean, it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So, hook up. So, he gets there, and he rings the doorbell, and no one answers. And he's like, this is weird. And so he types her and goes, hey, I'm here. And she goes, come in the back.
Oh.
And he's like, what? And she's like,
No.
And she goes, the back door's open. I'm down in the basement. It was a bi-level house where your basement goes out to your backyard. Well, so he's like, okay. So he went back there, and back door's open. Lights are on. So light was on. Opens the back door, and he walks in, and he says her name, and there's a sheet hanging.
This is like a murder movie or something.
Well, so there's a little hole cut
my God.
in this sheet, and
Oh,
he
no.
goes, I'm gonna just give her a name, Beth. I don't know. He goes, Beth, are you here? And all he hears is, yeah, I'm here.
Like a woman's voice? Or...
I wouldn't say a woman's voice.
Okay. Oh,
And he goes, okay. And she goes, hey, well, if you just want to hook up, just pull your pants down and you put it in this hole.
Wow.
weird.
And he says he left.
Oh, I wouldn't.
But we kind of think he didn't. But no, this was a real story. He literally had this happen where he
This can't be
opened
the
this-
end of the podcast.
No, but this was a real story where all of a sudden there's a sheet in a hole and like this voice that said, just go ahead and do that.
Oh my.
It's like, what?
No, thank you.
Wow.
So that's reality.
And that's
You know,
why
that's
I
something-
didn't go on Tinder.
That's something we didn't even talk about at all. Is
Oh.
catfishing.
Catfish.
Oh, I had
And-
statistics that we didn't even get into.
That's okay.
That's like a. That's
How
like,
much? How many more hours do we have?
We don't have.
We're-
I have to
we
wake
don't-
up at
we
6 in the
don't-
morning.
We have,
So
we have
no.
negative minutes
Okay.
left.
Why don't we just?
I wanted to get into statistics about
yeah,
STDs.
yeah. It's we can't end there, but that's gonna transition to our ending. Daniel, last thoughts on online dating in general. You have like 20 seconds.
I don't know about online dating, but I will say this: tea bags. If you want to know what someone is like, you have to put them in hot water. Interesting people do interesting
and
things.
put it on their
like
face.
yoga and dancing and all that jazz. Yeah, just date. Play the field. Understand yourself instead of trying to find yourself because you'll never find yourself. That's my dating advice.
Ryan.
Okay, mine is actually going back to something that we brought up, which I believe is a fallacy, that a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's not. Reality is worth 1,000 words and way more. So don't just rely on a picture. Actually get to know a person, because there's so much more there than just the complexity of each individual that you find is way more than even you are able to comprehend given a lifetime. So be willing to interact with a person in person, not just through a set of pictures and a paragraph or two. Go out and actually find somebody and engage with them in a real setting that isn't weird. Just get to know them. Take the time. It's not that hard. You don't have to take more than an hour. And for the ladies, they'll probably buy you the coffee or the dinner or whatever it might be. Like, as guys, yeah, that's fine. We socially accept that that is perfectly okay. So engage with that. It's not that bad. A lot of guys aren't as horrible as you're led to believe.
Andrew.
Nice. I will say I think that online dating is becoming more and more difficult, increasingly superficial, and I think that you'll start to see people go back to the more traditional way of dating and meeting people, and you should stay away from blenders and Colorado River sharks.
Okay. Steve.
Are you sure you want me to go for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want you to go last, so.
Just so everyone knows, this is a statistic. From 2014 to 2018, sexually transmitted diseases. Syphilis has gone up by 71%, gonorrhea 63%, and chlamydia 19%. New York
Why
had,
chlamydia is the low? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
at the beginning of the year, 2019, in the Bronx, 17,000 cases of sexually transmitted diseases. Manhattan had 17,000 cases, and Brooklyn had 21. So,
stay away
just
from
remember-
New York.
I'm just kidding.
Well,
And demonetized.
Right.
Kyle.
so just to let you know, this is a fact that since online dating has started, STDs have been on the rise.
That is interesting.
There's a lot to
That's
explore
what I
there.
wanted to talk about tonight, but we never got to it.
Before I give my final point, David said, instead of dating, just get a golden retriever. They're loyal, trustworthy, and not that expensive.
Yeah,
I already
my
have
dog,
one.
So I'm sorry, my dog shits on the floor, and I'm pretty sure a girl might not do that.
Stephen, unless you want her to.
Oh, I
dude.
thought Steven was going to do the last worst thing.
Cleveland
Alright, we're getting
steamer.
a red mute
Okay,
button
okay.
for you.
All right, okay. Oh my gosh, I
Okay.
gotta recover.
Go, Drew. You got this. No pressure.
Some people think it's an aphrodisiac.
I would say my final thought is what I said at the very beginning. Online dating or in-person dating, whether you meet them on eHarmony, at Bible study, or in the bar, take some time, find your list of non-negotiables. What are the things that you need in a wife, otherwise you're going to fail, or husband? What are the things that you would like but can live without with? Those are almost as important, if
And-
not more important than the non-negotiables? And then what are the things you absolutely cannot deal with? And don't play the saint.
So good.
You gotta choose the things you know you can't deal with.
Preach it, brother.
Don't
Yeah.
pretend you can deal with it if you can't. You know yourself. Just
So good.
be really honest, have a couple drinks, and write them down. What are the things that drive you so batshit crazy that you won't want to deal with somebody? Don't date somebody with those things.
Amen.
What are the things that you know you need?
Thank you, Drew.
Date someone with those things. And what are the things that don't really matter? Admit them and move on.
Hell
Yeah,
son.
guys, and if she doesn't have big boobs, you can pay for those later.
That is not the last thing.
Damn it, Steven, you had one job.
Yeah, to have the last thought.
Your body. No.
Wait, can that be a thing? Can it be Steven's
Steven hijacks everything.
It is
As
a
long
thing
as-
now. It's
As
a thing
long as
now.
it's known that that's not. Jeez. Okay. And Grandpa Drew's gonna redeem it. When you're both 85, no one's gonna look good. You're both gonna look like hell. So date someone who lives like a saint and looks like hell, and you'll be happier. But they still have to look good enough to want to kiss them.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Procreate.
That's it, guys.
All right.
That's episode 6.
So six in the
Alright.
bag. Here we go.
We're clipping so hard. That's
What?
episode 6 of Guydeas. Thank you guys for watching so much.
Like,
And
subscribe,
yeah.
hit that
All that
bell
stuff.
notification
Let me get the
button,
music up. Oh my gosh. And
and share.
we will be back in 2 weeks. We've got it figured out now. You haven't been able to trust us. We've been a bunch of shitheads with our schedule. But we are having a week off to plan and then a week on to record another episode. Wednesdays at 7:30-ish. I'm Drew, that's Daniel, that's Ryan, that's Andrew, that's Steven, I'm Drew, and that's Guy Diaz.
I studied because I remember when
That's actually pretty.